If I was going to do a USC, you know what I do? I think this is mean. USC is an Appletini. USC is as strong, but mostly flash. But there's, it's eye-catching, and it is 10 years ago idea of the fancy.
Welcome back to Athletics Check, the podcast for people who are both into sports and nerddom. My name is Johnny Stanton. I'm actually recording this the Monday before this episode goes live, because I like to give our editor, Frank, not a lot of time to work with. I'm still working on being a podcast host. I think this is going to be episode 11, and I've been on plenty of podcasts, but I think running the show is a lot different. I don't have my comedic genius of a co-host here to help me. Don't worry, Travis is doing okay. I wanted to take this opportunity to try do a little bit of an intro myself, and in doing so, give you guys some updates on my life, because it's been a long time since season 1 aired. Season 2 we recorded mostly in the last winter, but probably the biggest update is that my wife Maddie is pregnant. She is just about to hit 6 months, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, we're really excited. We're having a baby boy in July. I have always been very excited about the idea of being a dad. It wasn't anything that I expected to be excited to go through the process of. Whenever I thought of myself as a dad, I always just thought of myself with a little guy or a little girl or whatever, and coaching them, and kind of almost myself growing up with alongside our children. But the process of being pregnant is such a experience in its own right. We're not talking about names before the baby comes, because we've always heard that you don't want, and this is absolutely true, you don't want to hear anybody's opinions on a name until baby is there. And so yeah, we're hiding the baby's name until baby comes. And the other big update is that I have a full-time position now. It's been several years at this point, but I'm no longer in the NFL. I guess you could say that I'm retired. I was last on a team in September 2022. For a long time after that, I was trying to get back in the NFL. And last year, I was working on getting Sync made and going through the process of trying to figure out what I'm going to do. My wife has done an incredible job of holding down the fort, and the only reason why we're even in a position to have a little guy right now is because of her. But now I am working with Ultra Pro. I'm working at a very cool company where I get to ride the line between sports and the nerd world, card games and tabletop games and all that awesome stuff. So that's the other major update. I'm really excited about continuing this show. I went through a long period trying to figure out, okay, what is my space in tabletop games? I think, in my opinion, and that's just from an outsider's view, but I just feel like everybody knows what they're making within the space. I have bounced around. This podcast is probably one of the things I've been most passionate about within this space. Obviously, Sync is a labor of love, but this is a different experience. This is supposed to be the thing that is about me, and I don't want it to be about, as much about me as much as it is about the people who didn't feel like they had the opportunity to express themselves in all of the multitudes that they are, and the different things that they enjoy doing and spending their time and community that they have. I've spoken about it a lot on the show, and just what this show means to me, because the number one message that I really hold close to my heart when I hear from people who I have touched the lives of through football or D&D or whatever, is that they get the opportunity to see somebody else riding that line between the two worlds. It's a weird thing. I've always felt like my favorite superhero has always been Aquaman, despite all the jokes, despite all of the memes about him. I think in the last 10 years, he's obviously become a lot more cool. Jason Momoa has a big part of that. But I always loved the idea of being half Atlantean, half human, and not really fitting in either world. And there are some parts of me that feel like that within the sports world and within the world of nerddom and tabletop games. And I fit into one in a sense on the outside for sure, but sometimes it's harder to connect with people in the way that I want to. And I was able to find that, which is incredible, while I was in the NFL. And then on the other side, I don't have the musical theater background that so many people in the industry do, or that comedy background, or that acting background. And I think what I've realized now is that this is the way for me to create something that I'm really proud of within this industry. Help my guests tell their story of how they ride both lanes, or if they think they're in one lane, let me show you how you might be in another as well. So those are the stories that I'm really excited about telling you in season 2. Nevertheless, this episode we have Grant O'Brien. We got to meet for the first time on the set of Dirty Laundry at Dropout. And right when I got on set, I remember somebody saying, "Oh, Grant's really excited to talk to you. He's never had somebody at the Dropout studios that he can talk about college football with." And then very recently, I got to hang out a lot with Grant, especially backstage of a show that's going to be on Dropout very soon. We really connected, and I think you can hear that in this upcoming interview. He's a very funny person. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, listen to this full episode, and then go to Patreon to watch and listen to the little D&D adventure that I got to run for Grant, because it was definitely a little bit more... I tried to negotiate different forms of D&D, and I think Grant did an incredible job of rolling with those punches, and you're definitely not going to want to miss that. So check out patreon.com/athletics-check-pod, and you'll be able to listen to that little fun adventure. But in the meantime, without further ado, let's head over to Grant O'Brien. And on this episode, with my co-host, Travis Reaves. Say hi, Travis.
Hi.
But the person you have not heard from yet is somebody that I've been able to meet recently within my limited, just fantastic, beautiful days at Dropout. That, anytime I get called to do something with Dropout, I immediately say yes, no matter what else is on the calendar. And twice now, I've been able to do that with our guest, Grant O'Brien. Say hi, Grant.
Hi there. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
I also never say no when Dropout asks me to do something. That is I am pleased to get the call.
It's show business. Who's going to say no to any opportunity?
Are you out of your mind? Or are you rich,
Absolutely.
Independently wealthy?
Yeah.
No. I'll say yes.
All those rich improvising comedians out there. Well, I mean, for one, as I mentioned to you before Travis got on the call, Travis is much more learned in the art of improv comedy than I am, or any kind of comedy than I am. Travis was the one who introduced me to Will Hines's little textbook that he learned, that I just read on my own time.
How to be the greatest improviser in the world. I have a copy of it right over. I love Will Hines. He coached my Herald team back in New York for like a year. My UCB house team. And I still kind of feel like, man, I want to be Will Hines when I grow up. I want to be good in the way that he is good. I'm not. No, I'm not. In fact, I did an improv show for the first time in like a month this last week, and I used to be when Will was coaching me, I was doing like 15 hours of improv a week between the teams I was on and teams I was coaching and rehearsals and all that. And now I do a show a month, and it's like the book Flowers for Algernon, where I know I used to be able to do this, and it's just seeing my ability crumble before my eyes. Like, man, I am muggy tonight, folks. It's going to be a bad one.
Yeah, it's much like any kind of sport you would do. You kind of gotta keep the muscle exercised, whether in any kind of art, improv, music.
There's a certain truth to like riding a bike, the expression like riding a bike, but it never really is. I from time to time have to take maybe a week or two off of like working out or running or just catching the ball or something. And there's always that little break-in period that never feels quite as comfortable. But I think that you guys sell yourselves short. I'm sure you're the only ones who notice the
I'm incredible.
Which you get
Are you
back
kidding?
To.
The audiences are
why else would you be
thrilled to see me. That's
of course.
Money in the dang bank. But there is like muscle memory is such there's maybe even an underrated aspect of doing things, of accomplishing something, is just doing it a bunch, is just like, doing it until it just becomes nature, until you are good. The
whole 10,000 hours. Yeah.
Look, I'm going to dive right in. I've got a billion questions about football and athletics in general.
We should probably talk why you're specifically great for athletics check as well.
Well, because of my body, I suppose. But I admire athletes because I was thinking before this morning, because I knew I was doing the show, why didn't I ever play any sports? Look at me, I'm 6'5", I'm a specimen. And the answer comes back to me, well, I'm bad at most of them. But also, I'm not at all good at being bad at something until I'm good at something. And I think to get good at really anything physical, anything where maybe anything measurable, like anything you can point to a version of a scoreboard and say, well, you did it or you didn't. You just have to take the time to be bad before you're good.
Do you think you need something quantifiable to feel like you're bad at something? Or do you feel like just through the process of doing it, you like can recognize if you're good or bad? And is it harder to be able to bypass that feeling of failure in one side or another?
It's interesting.
I think having there be something quantifiable does make it, it certainly makes it more intimidating. It makes it more, it being writ very large, but the fact that I could go and get a 0 on the proverbial scoreboard, if there's something along those lines, is like, that sucks, dude. That's really bad. Oof. Ooh-wee.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a good reason why kids, like, it's obvious again, but it's a good reason why kids' sports don't get scored. Like, oh, we're not keeping score in the soccer game. It's even if it's very obvious that it's like 17-0.
Yeah,
because you're keeping score, and
and also so are all of the kids, and also I guarantee you, those kids know the score, even if we're all pretending they don't. The kids that are out there, like, we are getting smoked here, folks. We are getting burned to the ground.
That's something that, as a music teacher, which is a job I do occasionally, I've noticed across the board, particularly with adult students, and I think there's something to it where once. I have no scientific study for this, but once we reach a certain level of competency in life in general, because when we're 10 or even younger, we're used to kind of sucking at everything, no matter what you do, you're bad. And then when you have not only competencies, but proficiencies, like I'm a good driver or I'm good at my email job. And it's like, now I want to play guitar. And the fact that it sucks and it's frustrating, or a sport or something, man, it takes a lot of humility, like any virtue you want to ascribe to humility, dedication, consistency. It's one of those I got to be a person about this shit, like an idealized person.
I think driving's a great example of I can drive now and my mind can wander, and I'm relatively confident that I will get to where I need to go. I think that is being good at something. That's the kind of ability I'm talking about, where it's like
second nature.
When you just know how it works. And when you're 10 playing guitar, I wouldn't get in a 10-year-old's car. And I also probably wouldn't listen to them play the guitar for that long. But that's a me thing. That's because kids bother me.
Yeah, I wouldn't, unless you're getting paid, I wouldn't recommend it. Not a great time. Sorry to all the 10-year-olds out there. So actually I have a question for the both of you then, because you're both proficient in your given skills. So for Grant, whether you're behind the bar or on stage or on set, do you find yourself occasionally not checking out, because we're not checking out, but having those instances of you can sort of fill in the blanks and you're like, what do I got to do after this? And then same thing for Johnny. Was there ever a point when you were behind the line of scrimmage, you were like, oh shit, I got to do laundry. Fuck.
I'll let you go first, Grant.
That's such a good question. Yes to my jobs. Yeah. Yes to when I'm bartending. In fact, I'd get upset if someone broke, don't talk to me right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing this week. I don't let's not have a dialogue. But that doesn't happen in front of an audience. In fact, I think that's why I like being in front of an audience so much, is I'm like, wow, I am in the moment. I am, every feeling I'm feeling is zapping my brain right now. It's, no on certain areas, no on the stuff I like, I guess, no on the stuff that is actually joyful to me, is all the other nonsense is to get to do this.
We were talking about this in regards to artificial intelligence with the Art But Make It Sports guy just yesterday. We recorded this, and it's funny. It almost applies in the same way, where he was talking about people would accuse him of using algorithms to do the work he does and like matching sports photos to classical art photos. And he's like, well, I don't want AI to do that part. I want AI to do my dishes so I can do the thing I like to do, which I think you draw an interesting point. Yeah, when it's something that you enjoy, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not checking out. This is great. I want this moment to last forever.
I'm bummed this has to end. Yeah. I'm like, no, what an interesting way to put that. Like, yes. Yeah. Yes to what he said.
Yeah.
There's an absolute like amount of joy in getting to focus in on something that you know that you're like one of the best people at, or that you're very proficient at, and getting to kind of check out of kind of everything else. It's kind of, it's opposite. It's like everything else is a distraction. Why would I be distracted at the thing that I really am enjoying, as opposed to like being distracted from the thing that I am, that I'm trying to base myself like, fully into, by allowing myself to get distracted by other things. In terms of my experience on the field or, in the meeting room, it's tough. I think, I don't know if there is a person on earth who can focus in for 2 hours during a meeting, like without any kind of breaks. Yes, there are times in which you check out, especially if it's like, oh, that's not my rep. I can try to learn something from whatever happened on the film, but I'm also not going to be giving my full attention toward it as if I was on the screen. But then on the field, like, do you know how many plays are in our playbook? It's like you got to be locked in to make sure that you know what you're doing. But, that's like the more cerebral side of the game. You could think about like, okay, some people might have to think about like the actual act of, if you look at like AI, watch Allen Iverson, like his highlight tapes. Like, do you think he's ever thinking about, think about Allen Iverson, like in the one thing that I realized, like, I'm not
short for algorithm Iverson,
artificial Iverson. When you're watching him play, it's like he's not ever thinking about the moves that he is doing. He is only ever like reacting to what he sees in front of him and the openings that he sees. He doesn't have to like even think about like, oh, I'm going to drive and do a spin move. He's just going to drive and do a spin move and lay it up and make it look like
you can't even think that quickly.
No, that's absolutely.
To have a conscious thought and then make your body do it. It would take too long. That's of course. I've just described 3 seconds of work to do something in half a second.
Right.
It's also Allen Intelligence would be another one that it could be.
Allen Intelligence is my next D&D character's name. Speaking of D&D,
he's an incredible player.
He's an incredible player.
Cerebral. You wouldn't believe it.
This episode is brought to you by Hero Forge Custom Miniatures. Hero Forge is a free-to-use online character design application. That basically means if you want to play a TTRPG and you want to have a 3D printed miniature of your character, Hero Forge is the place to go. You can print them at home, you can print them there, and they will ship them to you. They are always incredibly crafted and designed, and the print process is so exact. It's really impressive. Every time I get to see one of these miniatures, their character design and customization is second to none. You get to 3D model your mini right there on screen, and you can see it as it real time. Updates to any kind of customization you want. Their facial customization is super impressive. Make sure that you go to heroforge.com to design your custom miniature today, and always check back regularly because they always come back with the coolest updates. They have new content every week, whether it's a new piece of clothing, a new race, whatever you can imagine, you can make it on heroforge.com. So go to heroforge.com today to start designing your own custom miniature. Going to the Sync Kickstarter. With your help, we were able to raise over $280,000, and after that, over $20,000 on BackerKit. We were able to surpass $300,000. It is not too late to pre-order Sync Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea, the 5e book for pirates and tattoos that I helped create. My co-writer Rick Eskevius and our artist Sam Rusk, all three of us worked so hard on this book. We're continuing to work on it, and it is not too late to pre-order it. If you go to the BackerKit for Sync, you just search on backer kit for Sync Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea. That's SINK ! You will be able to find it and pre-order your book, as well as all of the add-ons. You don't get the tiers that we had in Kickstarter, but we have everything that you can pick and choose, like a tiki mug, a bunch of minis that we can send you. It's the coolest stuff in the world, and I'm so proud of it. We are continuing to work on it. It'll be a minute till it comes out, but I want everybody to get the opportunity to get Sync Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea, the physical book, when it comes out. So thank you guys for helping out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Speaking of D&D, the whole idea of this show, like I said, is to bring together the world of athletics and sports and being a sports fan with being passionate about whatever you are nerdy about. It's a refrain that I say, I'm pretty sure in every single episode, that nerdiness is just a synonym for passion. And you are, whether you like it or not, you're a Dropout cast member. I think people would generally call you a nerd.
What? What?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it here, whether you've heard it before or not. I know. I mean,
fair,
you've been on a
also,
season of Dimension 20.
They also
so
call you very
deal
hot. They call you hot and like.
Well,
people on the internet say a lot of things.
Yeah.
And gentlemen, they're right on both counts. What can I say?
But yeah, I mean, you've been on a season of Dimension 20. I don't think you can defeat those allegations.
No. That's a damning indictment.
And you and I have spoken at length about your love of college football, specifically the Ohio State Buckeyes, or just Ohio State in general. And I would love to dive in a little bit into what people may not know as much about you as your time on Dimension 20 or on Game Changer or what have you. But tell us a little bit about growing up in Ohio.
Yes, so I was raised in Columbus, Ohio, which is where Ohio State is. And I watch a ton of Ohio State. I watch every snap of Ohio State football every year. And I don't really like them all that much. That's like
I don't either, to be completely honest.
No, but you're also right to not. Like, they are villains, and they're wrong almost with
anybody
everything
who calls
they approach.
themselves the anything is the worst.
And the worst, even worse too, is they don't know that other people are making fun of them when they say the Ohio State University. Like, guys, you're being embarrassing. No, Ohio State is bad, but it's so in my blood. There's something that college football has on pretty much any other American sport anyway, is it's so tied to geography. It's so tied to the players' turnover by design. You're really rooting for nothing but laundry at a certain point of being a fan of it. But because of the geography, you feel tied to it in such a way. Growing up in Columbus, Ohio State is such a driver of the culture there and such a driver of the economy there. Both my parents worked at Ohio State. I did not go to school there. I truly have no allegiance to it. And yet it almost feels like, well, I don't know what I'd do on a Saturday without that. Like, of course I watch Ohio State play football. What else would I do? Yeah. I'm here. I'm right here. It's almost an interesting language thing where it's the only sport where I would say, like, oh, I am a Buckeye. I wouldn't say that about being, an Eagles fan. I wouldn't say I am an Eagle, but you'd sound wild. But these college teams just get so deep in your blood that it is like it's identity. So I'm embarrassed to be an Ohio State fan, but I am.
Well, I'm sure they're going to get you with that honorary degree anytime now.
Absolutely.
I think we can make something happen. I'd give a good speech.
I think one of the blessings and curses of being somebody like born and raised in the Southland and in the Los Angeles greater area is there are so many things that you can choose from to surround your identity with. Even if it is within college sports, you have the choice between USC and UCLA. If you want it to be pro sports, you got a ton of pro sports in the city. I definitely, growing up, tied myself to USC and Dodger baseball. Those were my favorites.
I was going to say it's a huge baseball town. The Dodgers are probably like the closest thing to an identity. Well, no, because you know, Lakers, the Kings.
I think LA specifically, if we want to go down that conversation, because you look at Cleveland. Cleveland is a football city. No matter what's like in the days of the Cavaliers doing their thing, the Indians and the Guardians, playing well. It's never the same city as it is when the Browns are playing well, or any Sunday is brings the city alive, unlike any other sport can.
It's the other sports are something you do till football comes back on.
Exactly.
And I actually feel that way, and that's bad.
And even if I truly think, and Travis, I don't know how you feel, I truly think that LA is a Dodgers city. I think it loves the Lakers. But I don't think I ever saw like the same kind of sports pride that comes alive than when the Dodgers are playing well. But that's the whole thing, is that it's still when the Dodgers are playing well. I think there's too much to do in LA to not have it be like a sports town in the way that a Cleveland or Columbus might be.
When the Dodgers are playing badly, it's not going to ruin people's day the way Ohio State playing badly, they've just done.
People's the whole city in terms of like a specific person. Sure.
Exactly. On the grand scale, the mood of the city doesn't change.
Yeah.
There's just too much contributing to the mood of the city in LA. And that's not true. And like, in probably all sorts of mid-sized cities, but definitely those cold Midwestern cities where it's like, no, you're watching TV 6 months of the year because you're in danger when you're outside. It's dangerous.
Yeah. What else in Green Bay is there? But
not a whole lot.
That's a perfect example.
The only day that I was ever there, the only game that I ever played there was, and I wasn't on the field. I was on practice squad. The Browns flew us over to Green Bay for the game. This game is on Christmas Day. I woke up in a hotel room in Green Bay on Christmas Day, and not only did I not get to play, I was in that hotel room for like 90% of the day until at some point during like halftime or the second quarter, they bus you over to the stadium so that you can hang out in the locker room until the game is over. It's such practice squad is the weirdest like feeling of feeling important until it comes to game day. And even still, like, you don't feel that important, and like being part of the team. It's such an interesting feeling. Anyway, but yeah, like, you were in Ohio State, tried and like born and bred. Did that ever translate into something like the Browns or the Bengals being more in like Southern Ohio?
Never. There's in the same way, like, I don't even know that I like the Buckeyes that much. I have no allegiance at all to Ohio sports. I'd rather watch a good team than watch an Ohio team. Not in general. I'm talking to a Cleveland Brown here. I'd rather watch.
You're talking to a Cleveland Brown who got cut a number of times from the team and was unceremoniously released and is still working on becoming a fan of football again.
And I go on record, that's the biggest mistake they made the past 3 years.
Oh,
that's
thank you.
The biggest mistake.
Definitely.
They're unquestionable personnel decisions otherwise. But no, it didn't necessarily. In fact, I think probably because I'm an Ohio State fan, that kind of took up all the football oxygen. I would bet there aren't a ton of very passionate either Browns or Bengals or Steelers or what have you fans in Columbus that aren't transplants, that didn't move there from elsewhere, because it is
Yeah, it takes
it
up
would
all
be
the oxygen in the
lonely.
room,
Like
you said. Yeah.
you know the feeling of being a lonely fan in a city is like, that is kind of the way I feel now. Where college, the most popular sport in America is the NFL. The second most popular sport in America is college football, and I don't know anyone who watches it. I don't have anyone to talk about it with other than people in Ohio.
It's on back-to-back days. Like you take up all of your energy, and you're probably hungover by the time Sunday comes of like watching the Buckeyes play on Saturday, and then when it comes to Sunday, it's like, oh, that's right, we had the other team is playing.
I think that speaks to what you were saying about the Midwest culture as well. Not to just that there's anything wrong with it, but like in Los Angeles, there's so much, and on the West Coast, there's so much stimulus that it's like, I'm gonna go outside. It's Saturday in December. It's 65 degrees. I'm going to the park, and like my culture is just not as
like.
entrenched.
Let me go. An incredible new bar just opened. There's a rave tonight, and I'm going to do a ton of drugs or whatever your hobbies are. You can do that. That's harder to do. It just is harder to go to an all night rave on drugs in Columbus, Ohio, than it is in Los Angeles, and sub in whatever hobby you may have.
So many more options.
It is simply more difficult to. It's just a numbers game here where there's. I wonder if there's something to that, like to be a real fan. And I know that people that
we're gatekeeping fandoms. It's okay. We can do it.
Yeah, but I'm going to though, because I actually feel like anyone who's not a fan the way Ohio State fans are fans, it means you're not a fan. You should be intolerable. You should be monsters to people who disagree with you. If it gets angry once in a while, that's just the price of doing business. I think that's and that's unhealthy. That's an unhealthy way to approach it. But I really don't like Michigan.
That's the point of the argument.
There's not an obsession, I think, in sports more than there is within college football and English Premier League. I think those are like, and then I'm sure like going past that, it's like there's other similar feelings. But I feel like EPL. And in college football, I truly think there are no fans. Having been, I began my college football career at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Lincoln is, I think, if they had the success that Ohio State had in the last like 20 years, Nebraska would be completely intolerable when it comes to like, their the next closest city is Kansas City. And it's, within somewhat of a range, but there's a whole lot of nothing in between there. You're landlocked within, and the whole state. It's just Lincoln during football season.
Can I ask you about that?
The stadium itself, yeah, absolutely. But the stadium itself becomes like, in terms of population, it's within Lincoln, but when it comes to any college football Saturday, Omaha is the biggest city in Nebraska. Lincoln's the second. The stadium, the Memorial Coliseum, becomes the third most populated city in Nebraska on college football game day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, God, it's the best. Oh, it's so good. I had such a specific niche question. Tell me if this is a better offline question. Why isn't Nebraska Ohio State? Because I'm going to say, what was it, like the 90s? It was almost.
No, their heyday was the 90s for sure.
There was a divergence at some point. Was it because they weren't in the Big Ten and the Big Ten just took off for a long time? Is it a financial thing like that?
I think for a while the Big Ten was able to get the money that the Big 12 wasn't getting.
Right.
And when that transition happened, there's so much tied to not just the teams, but also the relationships to other teams in college football when it comes to rivalry games, when it comes to interconference rivalries. I think there was a certain part of Nebraska history that got lost when they transferred to the Big Ten. And that happened like a year or two before I went to Nebraska. But I don't think that was the main reason, because you're looking at all these conference changes nowadays, and people are still like going under the transition of those changes. But I don't think it's necessarily, we might have to wait a little bit. I don't know if it's happening because that. I think a big reason is because, Lincoln hasn't changed much since the 90s, and college football and the rest of the country has changed a whole lot. They have for a long time they tied their there were a lot of coaching decisions that I think were made that I think slowed them down. I was there under the reign of Bo Pelini.
Sure.
And he was there for a number of years and was never able to get past that 9-10 win season. And Nebraska fans got tired of that. They got tired of success, moved on to other coaches, and hasn't had the same success since then. And it's really interesting of like, when you're the only show in town, people get bored by watching the same episode over and over again, even if it is a really good episode. So
like,
it's
10-2 is a great episode of a football season. Like, what a delightful thing to get to do for most schools, for most places. Also, and this is actually probably a bigger thing about college football. Even us sitting talking about this, I'm worried we lost the audience because of just the Baroque structure of college football. Like, explaining how it works to people. Like, okay, so there's the SEC and there's the Big Ten, and the Big 12 is on par, but it's actually changed a little bit. Like,
the Big 12 doesn't have 12 teams. The Big 10 doesn't have 10 teams. That's what you need to know about. There's the Pac-2 now. SEC is basically the NFL, and everything else is at a lower level.
All right. Well, let's not say things we can't take back here, Johnny. let's none of us get crazy.
I am not an SEC guy. I am not an SEC guy.
That's a question I have for Grant. In the sort of structural shakeups of college football, with more teams in the playoff and all of the realignments, has that changed any of your interpretation of the sport? Or as a Ohio State Buckeyes fan, does that change? Like, has your relationship to the game changed? Or is it just, I like Ohio State, we're on a cloud city, nothing's really bothering us, and every Saturday I watch this and that's what it is? Or is it like, oh, I like the game better now, or I don't like the game better now?
The experience of the games and watching the games, it's only gotten better because they're getting great players right now, because of the inherent inequality in college football and the insane way that it's structured. It's not structured. It's like unbridled capitalism id just going crazy on players. I personally am sick, and so I love following all the like realignment machinations and the who's going to go where. I think UNLV is a fascinating unit of football right now in terms of like the structure of realignment.
It's kind of one of those like in the solar system they say like there's like the planets that don't really count as planets, like microplanets or whatever. It's like on the outskirts. We kind of know what's going on there, but we're not really sure. I feel like UNLV is kind of becoming one of those. It's like we might end up considering it a planet at some point, but it's not right now.
But if I was going to buy stock in a team, it would be UNLV. It's with the collapse of the Pac-12 and the national nature of, if you play at Cal, you're in the ACC and you've got to fly it. I think there's a really interesting opportunity for a true regional conference in this part of the country that UNLV could easily be the best team in, and then go make noise in the playoff once in a while as people get put in.
I mean, to be honest, the Mountain West is really the only true, one of the very few true
proper regional conferences,
and that still counts as I think the furthest team from any school in the country, University of Hawaii, is still within that general region of like that Pacific Mountain area. But yeah, I'm so glad that I wasn't in college in it. That's tough. Like, I very much wish that I got to benefit off of NIL, especially as a recruit going to University of Nebraska. I think that I would have had the opportunity to not have the college kid lifestyle that I ended up having.
I am so ignorant to the like finer workings of college football and sports in general as a community college dropout, that it's fascinating to
like and subscribe.
That's good. It's fascinating to kind of get the the full scope of what it means to be not just a fan of a college team because it's one's alma mater. It's like, well, I got there's my degree, so I got to do that. Not to, not I of course people who graduated from college, even though I didn't. That didn't mean to just characterize them as that. Thank you. I'm working on it, but to hear about what it means to be a fan of and invested not only a team as a school, but like a team as a place that you are from, and then also the sports overall, because my fandom lies largely in the NBA and also the NFL, where it's predictable adjacent. Like the NBA will do different stuff, especially lately, but it's like a novelty. Like, here, we're going to have a Ferris wheel. It's called the in-season tournament. You want to ride it? And everybody's like, no. It's like, all right, well, whatever. Whereas in college football, it sounds like it's people screaming at each other behind closed doors, threatening like political. It feels like a
you don't hear people going to Congress about the NBA all that often. It's like, Congress has to step in and fix this problem for us.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, I think you were about to say political violence at one point during that, and it's interesting, like the amount.
Oh, when have we
passion.
Seen that lately?
No, of course not. Definitely not on the field at Ohio State.
Golly.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about flag planting? Now, yeah, I'm coming. There's a million things I can ask you.
Let's talk about flag planting.
There was for anyone who doesn't follow college football incredibly closely, the greatest rivalry in the history of sports, as far as I'm concerned, is Ohio State, Michigan. And Ohio State just lost to Michigan for the fourth year in a row.
Whoops. And even though Ohio State is ranked incredibly higher than Michigan.
Yeah. It's sick. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, anyway, right after the game, the Michigan team went to the center of Ohio State's field to plant a flag, a Michigan flag, to put it right in the middle. The Ohio State team took umbrage, and a fight broke out that was broken up by the police with pepper spray. It got quite out of hand. Johnny, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I saw I was teammates with Baker Mayfield up in Cleveland, and
the flag planting.
The flag planting. When he was Oklahoma a quarterback at Oklahoma, and they won at Texas. Oh no, it was one at Ohio State.
It was Ohio State.
Yeah, he went over, planted the flag at midfield. You know, he is if there's ever a showman in the NFL, it's Baker Mayfield. He knew how to rile up the crowd.
Oh yeah,
I know. He knew exactly how to do it. And I think he was like kind of like, as you said, he was kind of the first one to do it. And now, I don't know, I feel about it kind of similarly to the way that I feel about rushing the field. I feel very strongly about when you rush a field, it needs to be, or court or whatever, it needs to be for a really good reason. If you just win a rivalry game, that's not reason to rush the field. If you win against a team that's ranked 1 or 2 spots higher than you, that is not good reason to rush the field.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Right. Now it is kind of interesting. Like, rushing the field is for home games. You know, like your home team wins, all the students are going to rush the field because they're all there. You win at an away game, kind of planting the flag is kind of that version of rushing the field. And if you can't rush the field with all your students, you got to plant the flag.
You're absolutely right.
Brings to mind teabagging in Halo 2 online.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. It is the teabagging of college football, and it only ever happens in this one specific area. And winning at an opponent's field in a rivalry game when the opponent is, I think, top 4 in the nation, whatever they were ranked at the time. It is absolutely good reason, I think, to do it. Baker, I think, went on record and said, "Look, you got to have some thick skin. It is a tough rivalry, and you kind of just got to deal with it. You got to take. You want
to defend your field. You just had your chance. If you want to,
exactly.
You just had an hour. I don't know what to tell you. Where was this energy a minute ago, guys? 10-13, 10 points they scored with that kind of offense. Ryan Day's in trouble. Anyway, I agree with you. That's exactly the right take.
The world of college football and the college sports and the transferring of it all. I wanted to hear your take on what you think about. There's a great like tweet that I saw before the Ohio State Michigan game of there are a ton of guys who just transferred from other schools and will say like, yeah, it's a really important rivalry. I'm really like, it means a lot to me. It's like, how can you say it means a lot to you, even though like you experience it for the first time? What do you have any thoughts about like, the transfer students who like, you're not going to not ask the starting quarterback, even if he's a transfer student, what he thinks about the rivalry, right? Like I was curious on, do you feel gatekeepy over this rivalry at all? Of like, you really got to experience it to be able to speak on it, even if you're a representative,
like towards the players, like being like, oh yeah, I love the company culture,
or coaches. Yeah.
I honestly, I shouldn't feel gatekeepy, but I do. I feel gatekeepy for everyone but the players. And actually, that's where I'd turn it back and ask you, how do college football players who are, ambitious and trying, working, there's not a minor league for football. People play college football with I assume, with the goal of getting to the NFL and making that, even just from an economic point of view, like that's the payday. I'm doing this job to get the payday eventually. So I don't feel gatekeepy because like, look, it's their business. They're the ones who are doing it. Like, what do I like? Right. This is kind of a job interview every week for them. Like whatever they need to motivate themselves, go with God. No one else gets to have an opinion on my rivalry.
Yeah, no, it's a similar experience of like, as you were saying, it's tough to, in all of sports, I think it's tough to consider yourself like, oh, I am a Buckeye, or I am a Cornhusker, or I am a Brown. It works in some directions. It doesn't work in others. It makes sense to say that you are like a member of, if you went to school somewhere, I'm not going to tell my sister that she's not an Oregon Duck, even though she wasn't on the football team, but when it comes to the pros, it's like, there is a difference there. And I think there is a certain amount of separation that you don't have in college football, where these 60-year-old men will talk down on a 19-year-old kid for like dropping a pass when, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. Whereas in the NFL, you kind of like, hey, I'm a grown man. I'm getting paid to do this. I can deal with it, but I can also kind of clap back. And like some people will clap back a little bit, but you also, those fans can't there is that separation that it doesn't get to be representative, even if you are wearing the jersey every Sunday, and it still appreciate the support, but it's like, oh, we lost this Sunday. At saying as a fan, it's like, did you, or did the players lose? I don't know. There's a lot of like discussion there that that's tough to go over.
In the same way that I really enjoy the identity aspects of being a college football fan, it also does create this really weird sense of ownership over it becomes something. You're not you feel like you have a say at all as a fan, in a way. Your sister is probably disappointed when Oregon loses in a way that she is not when the Sonics lose or something. I'm making up my Northwest specifics.
Sonics, famously around.
Yeah, the Seattle Supersonics. You guys, this Microsoft, I think they're going to buy up the team. But I also have to answer that more specifically as an Ohio State fan, because part of the reason I don't really like Ohio State is they're miserable fans. It's because Ohio State has this expectation that they're going to win every game. Then when they win, that's what should happen.
That's the expectation.
And when they lose, it's your guys not living up to your expectations can be the feeling, which again is sick
never
and
getting
perverse.
to be the underdog does some rough things for the ego.
Dark. It is dark. It is bad. Truly, it's bad. It's probably good for us that we've lost to Michigan.
It gets replaced by like the underdog mentality of having a chip on your shoulder turns into everybody's against us. Chip on your shoulder.
Exactly.
Which is like a small change, but it makes you unbearable and nobody likes you because of it.
Yeah, truly. It's and they shouldn't. It is a small change, but that is a big difference. Yeah. But I'm curious on your take. If you're playing in a rivalry game as a player, I got to imagine you have so many reasons you want to perform well. Even just as like, a person who gets good at something in that way is always pushing themselves to perform well. The fact that it's a rivalry game, how important is that? Or is it like just one data point of many of reasons like, no, I'm trying to do my job today?
Having been involved in rivalry games for college football and for the NFL, I got to suit up for, a game against the Steelers as when I was on the Browns.
That rules. You did have the coolest job in the world. Like, that
isn't lost on me. Like my ability, like the privilege that I had of being in the NFL, like the experience that I have, I think it's fun for me to be able to talk about it in this way and relating it to different like aspects. And we'll get into the whole nerd side at some point because again, you're still a nerd. And I get to say that as the jock in the room.
Shut up!
Oh my god! Bullying on the podcast.
No, it's kind of it's becoming a thing now. No, the rivalry games between college football it's definitely ups. It's up a level compared to the NFL. I think there are a few rivalries. I think the Ravens Steelers. Is up there in terms of like, the AFC North. The Browns Steelers has a lot of history there, but it's been so one-sided in terms of like the last 20, 30 years that there is animosity there. 100%. There is, I cannot say that there isn't, but it doesn't matter how big your school is, doesn't matter how much success they've had, doesn't matter if they're Division 1, 2, 3, community college. There is nothing like a college football rivalry week and the hatred that there is. It consumes your entire week. You're not allowed to wear the other team's colors to class, the whole campus. When I was at UNLV, we didn't end up winning the battle for the cannon while I was there. It's the largest college football rivalry trophy in the country. It's like the largest, it's the heaviest, it's the oldest, or it's like the most expensive.
It's a good rivalry.
It's worth like $10,000, $10,000 or something. And now finally UNLV is dominating that rivalry game, but it's less important because I think that the tough thing when it comes to any other sport is that in college football, it only happens once a year. In the NFL, your rival is likely somebody in your division who you play at least twice a year. In baseball, you play it like, however many times, maybe 15 times a year or something, 12 times. Basketball, something similar. And I don't even know if like the biggest rivalries in basketball are like across conferences. It's like Lakers Celtics. I don't know if you have a different perspective on it, Travis, of a different rivalry.
I think they're a little more ephemeral. There are shorter rivalries, except for a few like Lakers Celtics, and they're more not a new point, star driven, player driven.
Yeah.
Other than program driven, there's a little bit less.
It's player versus player as opposed to franchise versus franchise.
Yeah, because you think about it in representative
which seems
terms.
So much healthier to me. Which seems like, that's what it should be about. Oh, I really like watching this guy play this sport. I'm going to be a fan of that, as opposed to this garbage of like my parents went to this school. Who cares?
For all the ire that like Twitter NBA gets for not having allegiances to teams but players. It's funny, when you were describing that, I was thinking about it. Yeah, I guess it does make sense to be like, I like this guy, therefore any team he's on, I'm into that necessarily. And
the idea that a logo or a set of colors has a personality, I think, is a whole. It's another like leap in logic, as opposed to like, oh, I like the way this guy plays.
And I think that becomes
not only do they have a personality, sometimes the personality is bad. Sometimes they have a bad personality.
And I think that's easier to stomach now that the game, this is true maybe of all sports, is more national and even global, where, you know, in the 70s and 80s, not only were you having a hard time finding national games on different coasts, but just like you had your regional market you'd hear on the radio, and like very seldom would you be introduced to, like if you were an East Coast fan and the Blazers came to town, it's like that's the only time you're going to see Clyde Drexler, like ever. Right. Basically. And so it's like, yeah, who are these guys? Fuck them. Versus like, oh, I'm aware of now, like I could figure out what Jaylen Brown did this morning, probably, if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I will.
And that's a threat.
Let's all take a minute. Let's all.
Yeah. So it makes it easier to kind of disseminate your fandom from a team and a location to a player.
Those of you coming from the Dropout Dimension 20 side of things, hoping to catch any little nugget of insight or information from that, you are
the things that people know the two of us together from that we haven't touched on at all.
Yes.
Well, screw that.
No, and what I realized is I mentioned that we've been on Dropout twice together, but I remembered that one of those is not going to be out for a while, so can't even really talk about that. But you know, dirty laundry, Dimension 20, breaking news. Total forgiveness. Like you are, you know, one of the more standout people at Dropout, and people feel like they know you. I'm sure comes with a lot of parasocial weird stuff that happens. Kind of comes it comes with the territory. But I wanted to know, like, just in general, like your experience. Yeah, Travis is going to find out what you did this morning.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Oh, Travis, I'm not going to tell you, but wait till you find out. The oatmeal I made.
Finish the episode to find out.
That is legitimately interesting to me, unfortunately.
But just like how does any of this, and I guess we might as well keep it like combined. Does any of this relate to sports, in your opinion? Like the fact that you are in a very competitive world in like improvised comedy, everybody's hoping to be able to get those opportunities, hoping for stage time, getting the opportunity to be in College Humor, in Dropout, and being like a well-known face. What is that experience like in general? It's a very broad question, but
it makes me think about almost what we were talking about at first of. There's not a scoreboard. There's there's the very real scoreboard of if I like to get jobs so that I get paid for them.
Sure.
But in terms of how the fans feel about the things that I do, it's so subjective. There's so many different kinds of things that a person could like or not like about something I did. If I did a good or bad job on a show or not, is so much harder to quantify than it is like, did you win or not? And so
like you could technically count the number of laughs you get, but who is going to do that?
And even then, like, well, sometimes what I want is a wry little laugh, and sometimes I want a big bang. You know, it's like there's all these little nuances that kind of don't exist for. I don't feel a responsibility to the fans in a way that I imagine a player might, because I don't think there's such a thing as me disappointing them in a way that one could disappoint the city of Columbus by losing 10-13
I don't know.
to Michigan
I had you
for the
on
fourth year in a
my
row.
dropout fantasy league this year, and you really disappointed me. So I think if there is a disappointment to be had,
look, I let the whole team down, and I can't. It's on the thing we can't talk about yet. But man, it's a dark day, guys. I'm
Iffy
gonna
on
tell
the
you.
bench for this.
oh no.
But he's the other big man. That said, I think there are similarities. I wonder, tell me if this is true or not. I think there's similarities to playing sports, to playing football, in that I also kind of don't care what the fans think. I want to be good for my own reasons. I want to be good because being good at this is what I do. Because because it's I have good taste in this, and I know what I think is good or not. And I've got to imagine, if you're playing for Ohio State, you care less about what Grant thinks than did I do my job as well as I can? Because what I do is my job. What I do well is this. Is that the experience you would say of a player?
Yeah, I was thinking about like there is two kind of classic responses when it comes to the fans and the NFL or sports in general. It's like, love the fans, need them to keep supporting us. We do it for you guys. And then there's the whole like, I don't care about your fantasy league. I don't care about, what your bet was. Like,
That's
you
your business.
You want to love the fans. You want to love the fans for being the fans. You don't want to love the fans for specifically how they feel about you. That thing, which is it's a weird thing to quantify. It's a weird thing to qualify. I don't even know if I fully understand what I just said.
No, I think you made a point there. I remember you catching some real heat from
which time?
For more
that time
from
Game Changer.
Yeah. Well, just like unfortunately some like kind of cultural ideological standpoints where it was like you as a younger generation of athlete coming up against the capital NFL fan from like the 70s and 80s, and frankly just like people that are culturally out of touch that see someone like when you had my cleats my cause, I think I got that backwards, of like your cleats it was supporting like LGBT youth, right?
Athlete ally. They had a big old pride flag on them.
You had just a toxic miasma emanating from your Instagram comment section there for like a week and a half.
It was less from mine. No, of course not. Internet? What? No, it was less from mine and more from the comments on the actual NFL's Instagram
the writ large
posts where they posted my cleats, even though I wasn't playing that week. I think that it was a big opportunity for people within the NFL to like to actually promote like, hey, it's awesome. We have an NFL player who's like outwardly vocal about like, that kind of advocacy.
Who's not being weird about this.
Which is, though, as a queer person, there is a bit of a wall between sports and queer people sometimes. And sports rule. Let's take that down because it's fun to watch sports. Anyway,
100%. No, and all I was going to say was like, yes, there were absolutely people within that decision-making process that were like, that's cool. Like I got to be person 1B because Carl Nassib actually came out that year and supported the Trevor Project through his My Cause, My Cleats, in terms of like one of the first players
ate your lunch for you.
Exactly. I mean, I'm an ally. What can I say?
Oh boy, that's gonna be exhausting.
Do you know how many tweets I like a day?
Oh boy. Well, then you've got to deal with gay people, and let me tell you, that is exhausting.
Anyway, when it comes down to it, the NFL as a whole, as a brand, needed to sign off on it, and I think I applaud them for going through with like posting that specifically because I'm one of like a couple hundred guys who did My Cause, My Cleats, and I got to be one of the people that they did post about, and they were fully knew what they were doing, but it was also a good amount of like virtue signaling. It's like, hey, we have a player who's promoting it. Isn't that good enough for you guys?
Sure.
And while in the meantime, they're promoting guys who don't necessarily feel the same kind of values or different owners donating to certain causes and stuff. It was an opportunity for them to try to get on the right side of history while not actually putting in the work. So I think that I'm of two minds,
which I'd
about
love to
it.
do. If I could do that, I would love to do that.
I love riding that fence.
Just who wants to put in the work? I love being on the right side of history, but man, man, these gay people.
It was. While I was on the Browns, Hugh Hewitt followed me on Twitter. And I think I might have texted you that screenshot, Travis, in our Sporks group chat. But it was just like, do you know who I am? Do you know anything that I tweet about? Because I know you're I guess an Ohio fan or Cleveland fan or something, but it's like not really on like the same page as you, my guy. Anyway, it was interesting to be like, hey, I love you. Love that you're on the Browns. Hate what you stand for, but love that you're on the Browns. There was like a certain amount of that.
Thumbs down, big thumbs down. But you're associated with an organization I like.
Killer lead block. Think differently.
Pronouns in bio, opinion doesn't matter. But man, did I love it when you catch that touchdown?
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, I mean, for better and worse, this is America, as it were. It's just like the old and the new, the open-minded and the closed-minded, all trying to find a way to coexist. And it's like, oh man, this is complicated, particularly when it gets to national activities like sports fandom. Whereas in Los Angeles and on the West Coast at large here, like, you go to a UCB Franklin show, you feel pretty ideologically sound in those walls for the most part. I would feel like, and there's,
But then when you're in Cleveland or Columbus, Ohio, it's a lot different. Yeah,
and as a lifelong Californian, I'm wondering, Grant, like, how has, as a queer person, not to be like, as a queer person, share your experience, but like, coming from the Midwest, I'm not sure when you moved out here, and being part of like that capital F football culture, was there ever a point where you felt like at odds with your, say, identity as a queer person, but just like, is there a point where you're like, it's weird, I feel weird, feel of two minds about it, or have you always been able to kind of just bisect it and feel like I'm a football fan?
Well, look, no, I don't feel weird about it because it's because in a world of gay men, they love that I like football. What they can't get enough of that fact. That is such a huge turn on. Oh man, it's in the way that Mask for Mask, what's up, bro, gets eroticized in the gay community. That's nothing but a feather in my cap with them. It is unusual. It is that's true because it is an outlier. More so, I feel I think it's an even more alien feeling being in a place like we were talking about before that is not a college town. Where I am struck mostly by like, wow, this is, I mean it. I don't know anyone out here that follows college football the way it is followed elsewhere. Queer or not. In fact, I'm not even the only queer person I know from Ohio who loves. I don't think that wall is there if you are raised in it, because it just is like, well, what else am I going to do?
And that's the way it should be.
I think it's awesome. In fact, I also think it's good to have a place where you and Hugh Hewitt can be on the same page about something.
Sure.
I swear, big pools that everybody has to get in are good. It brings the temperature down across the board. But my sense of cultural alienation is more as a Midwesterner than as a queer person. And like you say, I think that's great. I think that's as it should be. In fact, I think geographic identity can be a great thing. I think it's awesome to be psyched about being about where you live. I love LA. I love living here. I think it's cool. I liked Columbus. I think there's something important about like, oh no, I'm from an interesting place. My life is interesting for these reasons because I'm here.
Right.
No, I do love that you bring so much of the like pride from where you come, and I don't think necessarily everybody picks up on that. I think it's part of the of the culture right now, especially with the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like uh, lines of like what is it? Something Ohio, Ohio. I don't know what it was.
Ohio
Skip
against
the
the
Ohio.
world.
Sure. No, but it's the one. It's the whole Gen
Oh
Z
yeah,
slang.
it's like something that is boring is Ohio. Something
Yes,
that is
exactly.
something that is like
Oh my God.
it is. Well, it is. It's in fact, it's not even boring. It's almost like it's chuggy and boring. It's like
Yeah.
and
It's
frankly,
nothing. It's like
very
in the
funny.
middle.
Yeah.
Did you know that the first
villains.
2 lines of your personal life section on the dropoutfandom.com says Grant was born 6 weeks premature in Ohio. He successfully left the state.
I
feel like a lot of that came from like breaking news or something, but
certainly. The things I've forgotten things I've told people about my personal life. There's like, I was born 6 weeks premature. I'll tell you where. The Ohio State University.
Hey. Wow.
I'm not finishing it.
Yeah, it's fine.
We talked about it before we recorded, so I want to make sure we're able to follow through with it. I do love getting to combine the two worlds, and the best way to do that for me within this show is not only through just this hour-long discussion. I think you're the longest episode so far, which I love. But I could continue talking to you forever. I like to play a game on the show called Player Comps. When you're going through the draft process, a draftable player might be compared to an existing player in the NFL to see like, oh, this is the kind of potential this guy might have. This is the kind of player this guy might have. But I wanted to get possibly a couple player comps for you for the guy from the greater sports world. And I think honestly, compare this to whatever you want. If you want to compare it to comedians, to movies, to whatever, I wanted you to compare specific cocktails and to maybe something in the sports world. But if you was like, oh, you know what, that cocktail is exactly like my fellow improviser on this whatever show, then let's go with that. But not to try to make your scope too wide.
And not to, just in case anybody doesn't know at this point, you are also a bartender for everything we've been talking about. You're also,
that's right. Yes. Hey, if you get the chance, I hope that you subscribe to Dropout and watch Dirty Laundry, where you can see me making cocktails with host Lily Do. Like and subscribe.
Hell yeah.
And
watch episode season 3, episode 9.
I'm telling you, it's a good show. Everyone should watch. It's fun. We have a ball. But I love that exercise.
I'll give you a name of a cocktail, and I would like for you to maybe we even go with college football programs.
Okay.
What is this? I feel like this one's straight across the board. What is the player comp for the old fashioned?
Oh, ooh! You know what it might be? I don't know if you're gonna like it. I think it's Nebraska. I think it's something that's been around forever. That is relatively uncomplicated. That is, but that is also
just an up the middle run game, baby.
Yes, truly, it's like, well, an old fashioned has not that many ingredients. It's whiskey, it's bitters, and it's an orange, and some sugar. Like a classic big day, or maybe like Wisconsin, like 3 yards and a cloud of dust is I think what an old fashioned is. In fact, I think Wisconsin, the old Barry Alvarez, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. And Travis, jump in here. I don't have a list or anything of cocktails. If you find one that you or think of one that you want to bring up, please.
Sure. Let's say what's the margarita?
Yeah.
90s Miami.
Nice.
I think like the lime of it all, the popularity of it all, the nasty attitude of a margarita. It's the convicts of like 90s Miami of the U.
Are you visualizing this like a Tom's margarita, a frozen margarita, like a straight up with their specific?
I'm picturing it like a really good like margarita on the rocks, like smoked salt on the outside. Miami was good in the 90s.
Speedboat margarita.
Exactly. If there's a little bump if you do a bump in the bathroom before you have that margarita, even more like Miami. I think that's the move.
I'm thinking
so specifically,
about
Miami is a margarita that you take cocaine before.
You can have a little cocaine. And honestly, if you get rid of the margarita, it's still Miami.
That is true. It's the margarita that makes it the University of Miami program. Let's say the next one. It's my personal favorite and the signature cocktail that was at my wedding. The whiskey sour.
Oh, great cocktail, by the way. How'd you do it at the wedding? Was it on the rocks, or did you do it up in the?
Don't remember fully. For one, Travis, do you have?
So it sounds like a good whiskey sour. So it sounds like that bartender did their business.
I was worried that it was going to be one of those like pre-mix, like like the mix and then it's the whiskey and that's it. They didn't have the foam because there's so many
there's
wedding
an egg
goers
shortage
that
at the time. You see,
there was an egg shortage, of course.
But I was a wedding bartender for a good long while, and you do want to make like the approachable version of
exactly.
Like putting egg white in a cocktail is a tough sell at a wedding.
Yeah. No, at the very least, it was not a bad mix. It was delicious, and as I said, I don't fully remember.
Let me think this through.
You got fucked up, dude.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It's your wedding. Do it. Yeah, you should. So. A whiskey sour is unusual because there aren't a lot of cocktails that involve bourbon and fruit juice. There's bourbon, whiskey in general is just kind of hard to pair in a cocktail. But the whiskey sour works really well by harmonizing a lot of different ingredients that feel like they shouldn't work together but do. And so the team or program that strikes me in that same way is, of course...
There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, but there's a right answer.
There's a right answer, yeah.
And I know there's a good one.
Do you have one in mind, Travis?
No. I've done this before when talking about things like artists. Oh, who do they sound like? And just like, look, just give me like 5 minutes alone, and I'll figure this out.
Because it's so interesting too, and I'm going over a lot in my head. You know what I might say, and it could just be because they're on the brain. This might not be the best one. The Oregon. I
was wondering Oregon. It doesn't. Give me your case.
I'll tell you why I say Oregon, because Oregon's always kind of been this little bit of an outlier program. They're in a weird part of the country where there aren't that many other, great football programs. Washington's good, but there aren't great football programs up there. They're the Nike school, so they've got they've got their uniforms thing going on. I think Oregon is maybe the most unusual football program, and so I because the whiskey sour is an unusual cocktail, that's where I would go.
But still extremely popular and successful, like.
That's even better than what I said. Water. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I lost it.
For some reason, my mind went to USC, and I don't know if that's just like the whole. I remember Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The last scene, he had like poured himself like a million whiskey sours and just kept on making them for himself, and I think that just like kind of stuck in my head. I don't know. I'm going to leave the expertise up to you.
If I was going to do USC, what I do? I think this is mean. USC is an Appletini. USC is strong, but mostly flash. But it's it's eye catching, and it is 10 years ago idea of the fancy. But these days it's sort of like, oh wow. Also, Lincoln Riley is a fraud. Anyway.
Travis, do you have one?
Yeah, let's say a rum and coke.
Ooh, God, again, there's a right answer to this. So a rum and coke.
Damn, talk through it.
Not that strong as a drink. It's a
Right.
you know, it's not a
You're
pure
trying to mask the
booze
flavor.
cocktail. Yeah, you're kind of taking it easy if you're doing that. So, but also very popular. So I'm going to call a rum and coke. Let's see. I'm going to say they're the
It's
best
everybody's choice when they don't want to
G5
think about
school.
anything.
Yeah, they're
Also,
like
okay.
it's the best non-power 4 team. I'm gonna like maybe Tulane. Is that too esoteric? I think
Boise?
I think it's possible that exactly Boise State.
SMU,
No, Boise
maybe?
State's something else. Yeah, SMU is sort of like they're in the Big 12 now. Or
it's
like
true, yeah.
or like Army or something. It's like you're never gonna win, but you're gonna make a lot of noise wherever you are. Like you're really interesting and good, but simply not the strongest.
And
Tulane. That's what I'm gonna say.
Top of mind, like, oh, what's a drink I could get, or what's a college? Tulane. Yeah, yeah.
I know. Yeah, they were good this year. Tulane was the best G5 program this year.
They were.
Yeah.
We'll finish it off, I think, with this one. We'll go with a gin and tonic.
Kind
Kind of stuffy, maybe.
Wait, I got one more after this.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
gin and tonic's a blue blood, but also not the strongest thing in the world.
It's like the Duke basketball program.
I was just about to say they are kind of UNC football where there's maybe
getting Bill Belichick.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Whatever donor that was a favor to. But if the martini is the UNC basketball program, the gin and tonic is the UNC football program. Definitely second fiddle, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
And as blue a blue blood as you can be without being a super strong blue blood. Yeah, a basketball school. That's a G a G&T.
I like that. Travis.
Just to see where this goes if we complicate it up. What's a Mai Tai?
University of Hawaii.
Oh, come on.
You can go past that one.
I mean, look, that was.
Damn it, he got me.
A Mai Tai is a complicated drink that takes a really long time, but that is worth it in the end. So I might say a little bit exotic. It's disappointing because I hate them, but maybe Clemson. Maybe it's
hate Clemson.
Oh, really
I hate
fast receivers.
Clemson. I hate Dabo Sweeney, but they're bizarre. They also they came out of nowhere. Dabo's driving his program into a wall by not engaging in the portal the way he should. But that is also an unusual way about going about things. Mm-hmm. They're not a historic power. But they've been the champ in the same way that a Mai Tai is the champ of a cocktail bar. I'm going to say Clemson, and I'm not going to be happy about it.
Bright orange too. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that's good. The color works.
Yeah, good for me.
If Ohio State was a cocktail, what would it be?
This is one of the most important questions he's ever gotten in his entire life.
Well, I know. I'm truly like it.
I don't think the listener realizes we just cut out about 5 minutes of silence.
I mean, truly, I'm sitting quietly on this podcast. I'm going to say a Manhattan because like blue blood, classic.
It's crazy. I was going to say Manhattan for Michigan. It's weird.
Well,
I'm kidding.
No,
now he's going to kill you.
There's because I was thinking about what would a good Michigan cocktail be, but no cocktails are the privileged children of VPs at Ford, so I don't really know a good comp for what the cocktail would be.
There is not a cocktail that is the privileged kid of a VP at Ford.
But I'm going to say Manhattan because again, unchanged for quite a while. One of the blue blood. It's been at this forever. It is somewhat uncomplicated. Not a lot of ingredients go in there. In the same way, it's got that Midwestern purity about it, and it's a little bit scarlet. So I'm going to say a Manhattan for the Ohio State University.
I'm going to ignore the fact that you said Midwestern purity and just move along.
I've got a ring that demonstrates my Midwestern purity.
Quaker.
Awesome. Grant, thank you so very much for being part of the show, for demonstrating the fact that you're I think what's amazing about the show is that people get to talk about the things that they're like actually like really passionate about, as opposed to things that they get to talk about all the time. Like, you can be passionate about multiple things, but sometimes you don't get to like express that passion in every situation. And I think there's a whole lot more sports fans than people realize, especially within the comedy industry, the nerd gaming industry. Yeah. So it's fun for me to get to bring that out of people.
It's what a delight. I could keep going for many hours, and I will not. I kind of already have.
3 things before you leave. After this whole discussion, 90% of it talking about college football and about your background in sports and everything. I'd like to ask people what if you had to create a ratio for yourself with that false binary of like jock versus nerd. I think jock being inclusive of sports fans, of people within like kind of sports sphere, and then nerd being obviously the wide definition that we have it nowadays. What would you say is your ratio, be it 50-50, 60-40, and in what direction?
I am 60-40 nerd, I would say.
Okay.
I am, if the, I think a good working definition of a nerd is you can kind of like ADHD hyperfixate on things. Mm-hmm. When you can really just get lost passion, in a subject. I do that very easily. That is the larger part of my personality. 40%. I'm a jock. True, college football is the only sport I can really talk about, but I quite enjoy physical fitness. I'm at the gym a bunch. Yeah. I think I like to be in my body the way that jocks are in their bodies.
Hell yeah. I love that. Well, there you have it. 60-40 in the way of nerd.
But 100% cool though.
Yes, no, of course, cool nerds. Come on, there's Marvels in the news every day because everybody's nerds.
That's right.
Yeah, if we would love for you, I asked you to pull up a dice roller online if possible, and that's because I'd like to make 2 dice rolls before we finish up. The first one is being a guest for Athletics Check. I want to retire your number. I want to rise your numbers into the rafters or put you on the Ring of Honor or what have you. But we don't have a number on your jersey. So what I need you to do is roll a D100 and see what number we're going to retire on behalf of you.
I love that. Wait, let me.
So I'm gonna bring up the list of retired numbers we have already and make sure you don't line up with any of them. All right, whenever you're ready.
I got one.
Cool.
9.
We do not have a 9 yet. That's a great number.
We do.
Amazing.
That is a great number. Ooh, I'd love to wear 9.
It's a quarterback number. That's good.
That's a good quarterback
number. Wow, what a good number.
And the last thing that I'll have you do is we are on Athletics Check. I would love for you, Grant O'Brien, to roll me an Athletics Check. First, we need you to determine what your modifier would be, and then to roll a D20 to see what you come up with.
Oh no. My modifier would not be good because I'm just falling apart, man. My knees are a mess.
Who isn't though?
Golly. Well, yeah, but I think I'm like 10 years older than you. So it doesn't get better, let me tell you. So I'm going to say, but I'm at the gym all the time. -4 is my modifier.
No.
-4? No, absolutely not. I'm vetoing.
Oh, you fellas.
Wingspan alone.
All right. +2.
Yeah.
There you go. +2. +2. I do love +2 because I do love +2 because I think it's the safest thing that you can say as being confident, but also not trying to be cocky.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have you roll a D20 and find out what your athletics check is.
Wow. It's a 15.
A 15, is that plus or without
after the modifier? It's a 15.
After the modifier, that's amazing.
No.
That thing that's absolutely passing in almost every scenario. You successfully were able to climb that mountain to be able to reach the summit of Grant O'Brien Mountain.
My favorite place to be. You should see the view.
It is. You're a tall guy. Thank you so much for being on the show. For those of you who are Patreon subscribers, we're going to do just a short little D&D adventure with Grant at the very end. So keep that dice roller handy. But Grant will be Travis will be finishing up. Say goodbye to Travis. Bye, Travis.
Bye.
And
Goodbye to Travis.
Goodbye.
Do you want to again give any kind of sign off before we go into the little Patreon bonus?
You know what? If you're a subscriber to this Patreon,
yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna
do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, well, if you're a subscriber to this
plugs.
Patreon, won't you please consider subscribing to my Patreon as well, where I have a weekly podcast called What Have You Been Drinking, where I ask folks about their favorite cocktail. So, Johnny, you better believe I'm going to be getting you on for Whiskey Sours.
Hell yeah.
It's what's called a home and home in the sports world.
I love it. Yes. No, it was bad etiquette on my side to not ask you to promote whatever's going on. And I am very, very excited to not only be on your podcast, but also to subscribe on Patreon.
Look at this guy.
We'll finish up there. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. As I said, if you are a Patreon subscriber, go check out this adventure that I'm about to run with Grant. But in the meantime, you at home, roll me an athletics check. And that was our show. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And thank you so much to Grant O'Brien for being the guest of episode 11 of Athletics Check. I want to give special thanks to the producers at F&Funny, Funny, Anand Shah and Sandeep Parikh, who are just the absolute best producers in the business, to my regular co-host and designer of the music for this show, Travis Reaves, and to our editor, Frank Janish. That was episode 11. I cannot wait to see you guys in another 2 weeks. But in the meantime, become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/athletics-check-pod to be able to listen to the rest of my little interview with Grant that turned into a D&D game that I do with all of my episodes. So please go check it out. As low as $5 a month, you can listen to those adventures. And I believe that means there's just one last thing to do. Roll me an athletics check.